Hi there, everyone. My name is Peter Sexton. I'm with the U.S. Department of Commerce in New York City. I'm director of our Global Financial Services team. I also support our Select USA initiative as a regional champion for commerce, which is the Department of Commerce's foreign direct investment agency. I'm really delighted here to be helping to moderate this panel today with an esteemed group of speakers. We have Elena Lankova, Director of the Soft Landing Program, New York. Per Stromberg, Associate Vice President for Innovation Economic Growth at Binghamton University. Linda Barrington, the Associate Dean for Strategy and Societal Impact at the Cornell School of Business at Cornell University. Stacey Duncan, the CEO of the Leadership Alliance and the Greater Birmingham. Oh, she's not here. That's even better. Sorry. Not even better, but it just makes things easier because I was a little concerned about our timing. So it's better. We have more chance for a more in-depth discussion now. And we have Heidi Andrew, Director of Business Development at Philip Little LLP, a large law firm. So really the goal of the panel here today is to focus on the key achievements of the Soft Landing Program, to understand kind of for people in the audience what the Soft Landing Program is, and kind of have a little discussion around some of the themes that are going to come out about economic development in general and how to attract businesses to the Southern Tier, what's been successful, what's not, and how these different agencies and universities have come together to provide kind of services to industry and promote a cohesive vision for attracting investment into the Southern Tier, which I really think this is one of the best examples in the US of that kind of collaboration. So just to kick things off, I think we'll start with Elena. Maybe if you want to give a little overview, because I would love to hear more about the Soft Landing Program and get a proper introduction to it.
I have some slides that I would like to show quickly. In the slides, I would give the word to Per Stromberg and Linda Barrington to step in and complete the overview of the Soft Landing New York program. As you know, the focus of this event is on soft landings and smart takeoffs, bridging innovation and economic growth across national borders. I would like to start first with mentioning the big sponsor of the program and the whole initiative, the U.S. Department of Commerce's Economic Development Administration. Last year, a year ago, we received a $1.6 million grant, as Candy Yamaguchi mentioned, from EDA to establish a soft landing program in our region for the attraction of foreign direct investment, including both startups and scaled up companies. Now I would like to mention that this has become a growing and very successful program. And what we are trying to do is help foreign companies evaluate and navigate their way into the US market. Now, maybe not everybody knows what is soft landing. At least a year or 2 years ago, I also didn't know. Of course, you know, in aviation, what soft landing means for airplane, in economics, in terms of inflation and avoiding inflation. But what we really mean is the business sense of lending softly in an unknown market where less risk and less costs are incurred. And one more slide just to see what are the benefits. This is a win-win game and initiative for both economic developers at local regions who initiate and create such soft landing programs, and on the other hand, the foreign investors who come and go to this region with their growth potential. For them, this is low risk, low cost arrangement. For the economic developers, this is increasing jobs, creating jobs, and also boosting the economic growth of their regional economies. And now how this initiative developed. We have the two key strategic partners, Binghamton University in the first place, represented by the Office of Entrepreneurship and Innovation Partnership, and the Kaufman Southern Tier Incubator as part of Binghamton University and administered through this office. And Per Stromhoek here is the Associate Vice President of Binghamton University for Innovation and Economic Development. He oversees both the office and the Kaufman Southern Tier Incubator. And then the other key partner, in addition to CIBA, of course, is the Cornell University, the Cornell SC Johnson College of Business. And I'm happy here to reintroduce Linda Barrington. And these two universities and institutional entities within these two universities came together and developed this program, which is really an amazing program that tries to attract foreign companies that are looking to expand and grow into the US market. And the mission is very simple: to to link together the huge expertise of both universities, Binghamton and Cornell, and help these companies establish a presence, enter successfully the US market, establish a presence in our region and beyond, and become part of the business ecosystem in our region. Now, of course, what we are trying to do, as you know, there are a lot of market entry challenges, including regulations, including specific cultural issues with US customers, including how you sell, what specific marketing strategies you need for the US market. Through our program, we are addressing all these challenges and trying to help these incoming startups and hopefully grown-up companies to be able to adapt successfully to the US market. Now, then of course, this is a promotion of New York State, although it doesn't need any promotion, but New York State, if taken independently as a separate nation in the world, it would be, it will have the impressive 11th ranking as the largest economy in the world. And I would like only to emphasize that there are a lot of incentives and tax-based incentives. The Startup New York, that is centered around universities, providing tax-free benefits for 10 years for any company that associates with the university, but Per would be able to talk more about this. Now, why New York? Obviously, very important place to invest. And then why the Southern Tier, our region? I would like to emphasize two of the many advantages of the region. The rich history, this is a place where innovation was thriving, let's say, decades and hundreds of years ago. This is the birthplace of IBM, the big technology giant that is where it emerged, and many other innovations in our region. This spirit of innovation continues today. And I would like to mention the focus on clean energy and energy battery storage technologies. The region is becoming a national leader in battery technologies, and we, the Soft Landing Program, are trying to build on this emphasis on clean energy and battery storage technologies and help the whole regional effort to actually build this region as a national leader in battery technology. And I would like to invite Per Stromhog, who is the Regional Competitiveness Officer of this huge initiative called New Energy New York, to say a few words about the initiative and opportunities for. There will be a separate panel in the afternoon about energy and energy storage, clean energy, but Per.
Yeah, thank you. So, so this is one of our newest initiatives that we applied for a little bit more than a year ago. So when, because of COVID, the US government set aside a decent amount of funding under the American Recovery Act. And some of that was giving to EDA to a program they called the Build Back Better Regional Challenge. And they set aside $1 billion for that. And the whole point of that program is to create resilience in regions that are particularly hit by COVID, so that if you have an incident or disaster like that again, you have an economy that can bear that better than what happened under COVID. So they were looking for moonshots, which is kind of unique when it comes to the government, because usually they want to fund very safe things that they know are going to work. And they were looking for regions that had potential with regard to maybe an industry cluster that was growing or could be growing, or that had maybe some colleges, economic development, and a community coming together saying that we have a lot of the pieces together to build a cluster around a certain topic that could create that resiliency. So we applied for that. We were one of 500, I think, nationally that applied. We won a phase 1. We had 2 months to submit a phase 2 for up to $100 million. We defined our region as a southern tier, which makes a lot of sense when it comes to some of the manufacturing we had there. We had companies flagging out like IBM. We have, of course, very strong colleges there. We had a lot of interest in battery manufacturing, and we had a gigafactory that was being built as we speak. So we had, we had a Nobel Prize winner and the inventor of the lithium battery. So taking all that together, we submitted an application that was funded. So 1 out of 21 nationally that was funded through the program. We got a total of $113 million combined from EDA and from New York State to support to build a battery manufacturing ecosystem in upstate New York. And of course, regional wise, we define that based on our counties and regions we're in. But of course, this project goes way beyond just the southern tier. It goes beyond throughout the whole upstate New York. So it has 5 different projects. One of them is a battery pilot manufacturing center. This has been Stan Whittingham's, one of his key speaking points for at least a decade, that in the US, we invent and develop almost all battery technology on the market, but there's no prototyping, there's no manufacturing. Everything goes to Asia, where it will be piloted, prototyped, piloted, and then manufactured. So in order to prevent that from happening, we need to get that manufacturing back to the US. We need a supply chain in the US. And the first step in that is to build a pilot manufacturing center so that you can actually pilot your cells in the US. You don't have to send them to Europe or to Asia to have that happen. So that's project number 1. It's going to get a significant amount of our funding. It's going to have 2 lines of battery manufacturing. One is the 30 megawatt hour, a very flexible pouch cell line. And then it's going to have a cylindrical line of pretty much the same capacity. So right now we have the site, we're working to get the contracts in place, start refurbishing space. It will be in the newest building on the IBM campus. So hoping to convert that campus now into a battery manufacturing campus, which is the same campus that IM3 is. So you can basically, it will take you about 2 minutes to walk from our pilot center and to IM3. So that's sort of what I call the star project among this, but to make this happen and work, and build up the battery manufacturing industry. Of course, there's a tremendous need for workforce. So our second largest project is actually to build and train, to build workforce development programs and to train those workers to go into every level of the battery manufacturing ecosystem, including the supply chain. So we have $16 million set aside for that. It includes 6 partners, everything from BOSes, high schools, community colleges, and the workforce board. So it's training everyone from while they're still in high school, they have finished, maybe they don't have the general education, to train them, to train the associate, the technicians, the floor, the PhDs, the engineers. I mean, everything is in that program. So it's definitely our most complex program because there's so many partners, but it's also the one that has, everyone is very, very excited about, because it's not just a typical college training that we do typically, right? This is really to try to get the whole community together, to work together, to define programs that certify all these people that is needed for this industry. We have a supply chain project, which is to attract and build and convert local companies to supply chain companies in the battery supply chain. So IM3, for example, is working with about 200 suppliers today. That's what it takes to build cells. So you need a lot of company partners. Of course, there's a lot of redundancy in there. And the goal is for them, of course, to have the supply chain 100% in the US and North America, because otherwise you're not going to get the tax credits. So, that's, the IRA is a tremendous driver for what's happening now in the battery manufacturing in the US. So that's an important project. It's led by New York BEST, which is, a premier policy organization for all battery manufacturing. You have an equity justice program, which is one of the things that EDA actually liked the most when we met with them in DC last summer. That we, everyone is saying we're going to get equity into everything we do, but what we did was to set aside funding specifically to make sure that it's not something that we're saying we're doing, but we have funded programs that specifically will deal with the equity and social justice aspect of this, to make sure that the workforce development, the programs, the manufacturing, it does really benefit everyone in the community and build down those barriers that currently exist. So just to take an example, there's a lot of skepticism in the town around IBM because, of course, there was a lot of pollution and things like that, and those things seem to happen in the areas that have been neglected. And then we have an innovation project, which is sort of dear to my heart because we're doing soft landings and incubator, Kaufman and all that, where we are trying to grow the early stage companies and the late stage companies and everything in between. So we had graduation yesterday with the Clean Fight is one of our partners. We had 10 advanced stage battery type storage companies graduate. We're going to run more of those. We're going to fund fellows to start companies, and we have pre-accelerated programs in there. So that's the New York program. And I have to point out and give big thanks to Ed Hummel, which I sit right in front of me, because he is our program manager. And without Ed, I'm not sure we would have been able to pull this off.
Let's welcome Ed Hummel. He just arrived. The federal government, the U.S. Economic Development Administration, closely with him with Energy New York. Thank you, Per. And now we are moving to the second big advantage, competitive advantage of our region, which is food and agriculture. Investment in this area is tremendous. I mean, there are tremendous opportunities investing in food and agriculture. Here, I would like to mention the huge capacity that Cornell University has, College of Agriculture and Livestock. A center of excellence for food and agriculture, New York State-based. This afternoon, there will be a separate about investing in food and agriculture. This center of excellence has tremendous facilities, and you'll hear more about them this afternoon. The other big thing with food and agriculture that Cornell administers is the annual Grow New York Food and Agriculture Competition, where startups from all over the world can apply and win prizes. The first being $1 million. There are 2 second prizes of $500,000 and 4 third prizes of $250,000. And again, there will be a panel this afternoon on soft landing opportunities in food and agriculture. Now, I would briefly outline what we offer, what kind of services and benefits we offer through our program, Soft Landing New York, to incoming foreign startups. Number one, this is providing workshops on the US business and market environment, the general workshops. And you can see here the US immigration law, business structuring, intellectual property, market entry, business incentives and grants at various levels, banking, accounting, taxes, export, import regulations, labor and HR regulations. And I here would like to briefly give the word to Heidi, who is representing Phillips Lytle, our partner. We are happy to have this a law firm, Phillips Lytle LLP, as part of our growing soft lending New York support network in the region.
Thank you, Elena. We're thrilled to be here. Phillips Lytle, we are a full service law firm with 6 offices throughout New York State, as well as offices in Washington, D.C., Chicago, and in Canada. This program, the Soft Landing Program, aligns with our legacy of supporting economic development and entrepreneurship in New York. And we offer Soft Landing and its cohorts a comprehensive array of legal services, as well as an ecosystem of relationships throughout New York and nationally. As a firm, we're distinctly well equipped to help businesses entering New York State. We've been doing business in New York for 185 years. We have deep roots and forged relationships over those years that are of great benefit to those in this program. It's also aligned and ingrained in our culture as a firm that we invest in regional development in New York. And we're proud to be strong long-term citizens of New York. Many of our clients are Fortune 500 or Fortune 500 globals, but we're committed to supporting startups and those businesses that are trying to launch in New York. So our lawyers have been presenting to Soft Landing cohorts on business structuring and formation, immigration law, import and export regulations, business incentives grants, tapping into the Inflation Reduction Act, banking, finance, labor, HR relations, as well as anything else that a law firm can provide. We are service practice. We also bring a robust network of connections throughout New York State from our decades of relationships. Have tremendous relationships with the regional players in the banking, finance, and deal communities. We have a very active and engaged environmental practice. We are participants in ACOR. We are working with companies that are participating in the hydrogen hub in the Northeast. We also had a member of our firm sit on the New York Climate Action Council. We post a renewable energy blog that speaks monthly almost about policy and how this is all playing out in New York, and I encourage you all to look at it. We also have a very distinctive agribusiness practice here in New York, and we are one of the first firms to be working with companies that are doing RNG. Over a third of our clients are part of the manufacturing sector and operating out of New York. So we're well familiar with those kinds of challenges that will present to clients that want to do manufacturing in New York. And then importantly, we have a very active venture capital and technology team that is basically based out of Albany, but we have partners there that have been deeply engaged in the ecosystem. We were active members in the Commutech Hub. We are actively engaged with 43 North, Access Silicon Valley branch of New York, Fuse Hub, Spark Saratoga, Launch New York, et cetera. Our team writes and lectures extensively on the topics of venture capital. Our lawyers teach classes, judge business plan competitions. So we have a support system available there as well. I have 3 lawyers in the audience today, and I'd like to just take a minute to point them out. Jim Hooley is visiting us from our Washington, D.C. office. He has broad experience in the intersection of federal government, national security, and international business. He specifically focuses on legislative policy and compliance issue involved in international investment, trade, and business development. Ken Graham who's from Buffalo, is a partner who represents domestic and international clients in a wide array of transactions, contracts, and other matters. And he assists with mergers, acquisitions, corporate governance, divestitures, reorganization, securities law, drafting, negotiating commercial contracts, and day-to-day guidance on corporate regulatory compliance. And then finally, Owen Moynihan is also
Where is
visiting from
he?
Buffalo,
Where
but
they-
also
Can
resident
you please
in New
stand
York.
so we can see?
Oh,
Okay.
Thank
okay,
you.
Great.
Owen has
Thank you.
represented large multinational companies, governments, and startups, and focuses his practice primarily on commercial disputes, including labor, employment litigation, arbitration, and mediation. So thank you for having us. We're delighted to be part of this program.
Thank you
And,
very much. Okay, applause. Now, in addition to these workshops, general workshops on the US business and market environment, we organize ISF ICOR type of customer discovery for the US market course or boot camp, where we have amazing lectors from the Binghamton University unit of NSF, of the NSF ICOR program. We also have a separate bootcamp on market entry and go-to-market strategy for the US market with one-on-one meetings between the soft lending companies and experts from another company, Think Creative USA. Number two, we have mentors assigned, a mentor assigned to each of the incoming companies. And they have regular meetings, monthly meetings to discuss their specific plans and strategies for entry into the US market. And then number three, very important, because any incoming company now is asking, when are we going to get student support? So student research assistance is provided by teams of students from the Cornell College of Business and from Binghamton University. This is the Watson College of Engineering and Applied Science. And Linda, now it is your turn to tell us how you provide student assistance. I need some help here to change slides. And
Thank
go
you.
to the number 2A.
I would say it was the opportunity to involve our students that really got us interested in being part of soft landings. That is what we are all about ultimately. So we consider these engaged learning experiences, and our students are sort of at the core and the focus of these projects, which is both wonderful and challenging. And so we need to work with both of those. And I'm just going to flag you, or do you want to hand me the? Oh, I can. Okay, thank you. So CleanWatts was one of the companies that we worked with this year. I think it was a very positive experience for both the students and the company. We have several courses across our college that involve projects, hands-on experiences for the students. These are the 4 in the fall that had projects with soft landings companies. And I'm going to call out Professor John Tobin, if you raised your hand, who is the first picture there, and did a couple projects with one of his classes, and would be happy to talk a little about the experience from the faculty perspective. We had several more in the spring. And what I will say is these also came from not just our Dyson School of Applied Economics and Management, which is very focused and has strengths in economic development and international student projects, but also from our Johnson Graduate School of Management and from Cornell's Brooks School of Public Policy. So we really are sort of tapping into the whole ecosystem. I put these faculty photos up there, but I sort of feel like I'm also putting the logos up there of your companies, not just because then you can see the range of projects we had, but also because in some ways you are co-instructors. You may not think you are instructing, but the students are learning a tremendous amount from you. These are just a couple quotes of the way they saw the eye-opening experience of actually being involved in a specific project, but the larger impact and sort of ecosystem that they became aware of through doing this. What's not in those quotes are some other very common learnings that the students have. We hear a lot about how it was eye-opening for just how hard it is to start a business and run a business. A lot of our students want to be entrepreneurs. They want to start their own businesses. And this is a real reality check for some of them. They also talk about how complicated it is to get into a market and learn the system. And on the positive side, we have students say, especially those who have projects where they're trying to gather information from the market, that it was empowering by the end to learn that they have that they are able to not stop after the first no. So as they are reaching out and making calls, they get lots and lots of no's, and yet some people say yes. And some of the students as well don't come from a background of business, have not had that kind of experience. And it's really exciting to see them realize the power they have just by picking up the phone and being persuasive. So the process is multi-stage, and it starts, way well before the semester. This is sort of our ideal process. And for those of you who've been involved, it may not have worked exactly like this. But hopefully we can start about 6 months before the semester and get from you all the business profile and student project forms. And Elena works with you, with your mentors, on helping to shape what it is that you could get productively from a group of students. Because again, these are students, these are not professionals who are out there as business analysts. They're learning that process. We have a Cornell liaison, Melissa Carlisle, who's done a wonderful job of then taking those profiles and the projects, talking with individual faculty to try to match this, because a really important stage is the faculty determining what projects work for what courses. And if there are things that just are not a match, I think it's great that we have both the Binghamton Engineering College and the College of Business, because some things are definitely more engineering. That is not what we do. Some things fit really well within the business world. And then once we find what we think is a match, Melissa will introduce the company and the faculty. And that's a really important point of conversation. So the faculty are sort of saying, this is what our class actually does, and this is what we think would be beneficial, because again, we because of our education mission, have to sort of put the student first. So we have to make sure this is going to be a positive educational experience for them and fits within the class framework. The students then hopefully have regularly scheduled meetings with the company to work through that, and then end with a presentation at the end of their semester. So there are a couple of key points along the way that are really, possible bumps in the road. One is that conversation between the faculty and the company, and flexibility is necessary on both. I think John could also, for those of you who are thinking about this, talk a little bit about what that takes to have the faculty give and take and the company give and take, and there's only so far we can go. Also to work out then the scope of the project, make sure that everybody's in agreement on what's going to happen. And then I think the biggest challenge for you all is sort of realizing, yes, this is a student learning process, and there's going to be a lot of speed up, slow down, speed up, slow down, because the students are hitting certain points in their semester. And so just understanding that there's some patience that is required, but that you really are giving them an incredible experience and hopefully getting a lot in return. So I just want to say that we really appreciate you making these students part of your journey and being part of theirs, because it really is a win-win, we hope, in the long run for both the students and for the companies.
Thank you very much, Linda. I will continue the next benefits. Now, the in-person boot camp that we and our area, Binghamton, and organize for each company. Right now, we are into this book. We have 8 companies that came. And were great. We had a very nice discussion yesterday. The director of the New York State Business Incubator. A very nice introduction for them to the generally innovation, including all accelerators and incubators. Number 5 is no. Number 5 is connections that we provide through the huge alumni networks of our federal, local, statewide government agencies. So this is a tremendous advice in order to provide access to potential partners, investors, customers. Okay, here we are. Okay. Yes. And as part of the connections, we are developing what I call the soft landing support network. Has different levels of institutions that we engage as part of the support, starting first with the training educational element. You can see the I-Core courses, Innovation Binghamton I-Corp site that we utilize for the customer discovery bootcamp for the US market. Then you can see Philips Lytle as part of this training and education. We partner with Grow New York, the Food and Agriculture Competition, and the Cornell Center for Regional Economic Advancement that administers this competition. Also Cornell Agritech with their huge facilities in food and agriculture. And of course, the Business Incubator Association through the Kaufman Southern Tier Incubator. The Kaufman Incubator is part of this organization. Then the government level, we work with, of course, the U.S. Commercial Service, Economic Development Administration, the Small Business Development Center. We have such a center as BDC at Binghamton University. Then the state level, we have the Global New York Division of Empire State Development, then NYSERDA, and the Division of Science, Technology, and Innovation of New York State, Empire State Development. And then we work with some business service providers like the Alliance for Manufacturing and Technology and the nonprofit Tier Energy Network Association that is based in the Southern Tier with a focus on clean energy. And the third number of focus of our support network is building international partnerships. We started with Sofia Tech Park because originally I'm from Bulgaria, and this is a great technology park, the biggest one in the country, created with funding from the Bulgarian government and the European Commission. We have developed a very interesting and promising partnership with them. Then, of course, we partner with the International Business Innovation Association. The Kaufman Southern Tier Incubator has a special soft landings designee from this organization, which is a certificate that we have the capacity to help foreign companies land softly in our region. We have the capacity to organize all these soft landing services, and this is very helpful. Then we partner with the Switzerland Global Enterprise, and we'll have a special panel after lunch on smart takeoffs. This is the Swiss Business Hub at the Swiss Consulate General in New York City. Then recently we developed a partnership with the Technology Park at São José dos Campos. They are very much interested. This is one of the biggest technology parks in Brazil. They are interested in sending companies from their huge food and agri-tech sector to our region. Enriching the USA, the European Network of Research and Innovation Centers and Hubs. We have Sebastian here, representative of this hub, and we hope we will be able in the future to develop some sort of a partnership with this very important organization. And most recently, Hamilton here is a representative of the Uniandes, the Center for Entrepreneurship at the School of Management at Uniandes, and we hope we can get also some companies from Colombia to our soft landing program. Now, thank you all, like international partners who are here about this. Now, a brief outline of our two cohorts so far, fall 2022 and spring 2023, 27 companies, mostly from Europe, the Americas, 7 companies, then from 21 countries, you can see them, 4 continents. 8 sectors were represented through these companies. The most of them, 8 and 8, were from clean energy and then food and agriculture. Healthcare, we also had representative 3 companies, artificial intelligence, 2, education, and then interactive media and apparel fashion. Where is Isabel, a famous Isabel Ago from Uganda, and she has a very unique company that helps women in Uganda get some jobs, and also has developed a whole business with fashion, leather, and textiles, and probably luxury brands that you're working for. And this is an amazing business. And the students at Cornell, they did pitch. There was a pitch competition among the students at the Dyson School of Applied Economics and Management. Many teams competed, but the student team that took Isabel's project, Naroho, Uganda, won the 3rd prize. And that was really fascinating. And of course, there are forthcoming cohorts. We organize 1 cohort per semester. Fall 2023, there are still a few seats available. And then in the spring 2024, just as a note for whoever is interested to contact us. Now, the moderator.
So, no, I think that's really, I think, this was a really great overview of the soft landing program. And it's great to see the diversity of the different countries that are represented there in terms of the cohorts that are coming in. So, I mean, it's very, very impressive, I think, to see, countries from Brazil, Italy, Egypt, Nigeria, India, Bulgaria, Guatemala, Togo, Uganda, Nigeria, kind of represented in a cohort. That's really impressive. I think I used to work with the state of Maryland, and they have a similar kind of soft landing program. And I think you're seeing a lot of other states kind of bring in this kind of concept of soft landing. But it's incredibly impressive to get that kind of scope of partnerships, obviously, that you have globally and connections to get such a diverse geographic concentration of companies in the cohort. I think I'd like to maybe just kick off with some questions here to the universities, maybe Cornell and Binghamton. How have you found partnering together? I think collaboratively with a sister university in the region for economic development, and has there been challenges with that, or how have you approached that? Because I feel that a lot of these institutions kind of are very centered on themselves, and they don't always collaborate on a regional economic development basis. And I think programs like soft landing encourage that. But how did you find that kind of integration and partnership?
Yeah, no, we have. So I took on this job in 2013. And I think the first project we had was actually a collaboration with Cornell. So we applied for what is called in New York State, the hotspot. It was us, Cornell is leading it, and Incubator Works. And since then, we have worked on a number of projects together. So we never really had any issues with that at all. Today, we have at least one big application pending together. It's called NSF Engines, for example. We are a partner that on the NSF Hubs I-Core, which Cornell is leading. We're leading the soft landings that Cornell is part of. And I think we have more too. I mean, we have, if we can partner, we partner, because we can't do everything ourselves. We're not big enough. We don't have enough people. And, all the people at Cornell are really, really good friends of ours that we work with whenever we can.
And I would just add, I think this is increasingly the way the federal government is looking to fund things,
Yep.
right? There are many more large grants that are hubs, and the requirement is that there is more than one institute or university connected, because why set up, redundancies? So I think that's been really positive. I think from the government grants too, I think both universities, there's an infrastructure that makes it work. I mean, they both have large grant offices. They speak the same language. I go to my grants office, they go over to Binghamton. So, there's more similarities. I think, and sometimes there's, more cultural clash or language challenges in partnering with industry, because we're not in the same business. But I think it's actually something that is only going to happen more and more as you see funders looking to do that.
It doesn't mean we're not competing too. I mean, occasionally we'll compete dearly, if we can, but.
Another thing is when we look at economic development, we see the hard supports like the tax break incentives, the grants from EDA, the grants from the Inflation Reduction Act, CHIPS Act for semiconductors that we're seeing. But I think the philosophy around a soft landing program as well brings in kind of the softer level supports, if you will, right? The integration of different partners, service providers, connectors to be able to introduce those companies to other companies that are already in there, and provide a network, if you will, to new businesses coming into the region, so they feel comfortable and engaged. As part of that, Heidi, how do you feel your law firm perspective? Obviously, you have a lot of partners you're engaged with this program. How have you felt that ability to connect with yourself as a service provider there, but all the other service providers kind of locally and regionally there? How have you seen that as a benefit to you from a kind of a lead gen, I suppose, from a law firm perspective, but also from a networking perspective too, I suppose, as a law firm representing lots of different industries and companies in the region?
Absolutely. And all these companies coming in need a champion or a series of champions. Our law firm often acts as that, and whether or not we become your lawyer and your client, we still act as that, because startup initiatives, we believe in promoting and helping students. And so I think that we are a large part of that, and we make it our business to make sure that right people that are going to help you as well.
And I think we kind of hit the end of time, but I want to kind of finish on one question, focus on the kind of sectors that you're targeting, because we see obviously quite a targeted sectoral approach anchoring off some of the larger multinationals that are based in the region, such as Corning, Lockheed Martin, IBM, the kind of battery investments that we're seeing there that were discussed, clean energy investments and stuff like that. But I think with the soft landing program, the composition of companies coming here, what we're seeing is a lot of startup companies as well, trying to utilize and leverage that bridge that a soft landing program does. And how important is it as you look at, I suppose, per the supplier diversification there, the need for having USA made suppliers, but also attracting those startup companies that maybe are in kind of adjacent sectors or such like, but also providing them with a reason to come to the southern tier to feed off that kind of ecosystem that's already there?
Yes, that's actually a very, very good question. So when we built the Kaufman Incubator, on one side, you would like to have clusters so that companies come together and they work together. It makes sense. On the other side, we can't just have specific cluster either. We have to serve the whole community, and community is always diversified. And we have a lot of community and other companies that we really would like to support and really, make an important contribution to the economy. And that's how we see all these programs, really, that, we have to look at the strengths we have for the region where it adds value to companies coming in. And of course, the battery and anything in clean tech, we do have a significant mass. It makes a lot of sense for us to because we just have resources there. We have students there. We have other programs and grants we can give them. So that makes a lot of sense. But at the same time, there's so much value in diversify, I feel like, too. I think sometimes there's so much focus, and I hear that over and over, that you have to focus on one thing, and you get too narrow, I feel like. And if that fails, you're sort of left without anything. So my opinion is that it's good to have some clusters so you can have mass in certain areas. On the other side, you have to diversify, in my opinion, and I think it adds so much more value to the whole ecosystem when you have a diversity of both the type of entrepreneurs, where you come from, what you're doing, how you do things, because then we see a lot more interactions on things that seem unrelated. In a clean tech company, still needs marketing, or they need uniforms or whatever, right? And you get all that together in an ecosystem, and that's when you really see synergies that you otherwise wouldn't think about sometimes. So to me, that's very important to still keep that.
Great. So I'd like to thank the panel today for their contributions. I thought it was a really interesting and engaging discussion. And over to you, Elena.
Thank you very much. Yeah, now any questions actually from the audience?
Yeah, one question for the battery topic. Will you be looking for companies from foreign countries that will participate? Is there any program for startups, scale-ups that would participate in the effort, working on batteries or working on applications?
So, and it's a huge focus for DOE right now in the federal to build up a whole supply chain, because you can't just, as I said, IM3 alone is working with 200 suppliers. They need manufacturing equipment. A lot of that isn't made in the US, right? So it's a lot of those. We need the chemicals, we need the graphite, we need the lithium, and many of these components are right now, made abroad, and they're maybe mined in Peru, and then they're sent to, or Chile, whatever, sent to China for refining, and then they go to something, and then they come to the US. So it's really critical to make the US economy resilient, that we have as much as that supply chain in the US as possible. And some of those companies or suppliers don't exist today. So yes, it's a huge opportunity, and DOE is also putting a lot of funding into this. It's a huge recommendation from the library report, if you look at that are going to put together with the request and that we really need to spend a lot of effort bringing the supply chain, any part of that supply chain in the battery space, into the US. And of course, we would like to see as much as that possible in New York State, because it's a huge benefit for the manufacturing in New York State if the suppliers also are closer by. I mean, that's a big benefit to them. So the more we can diversify that whole supply chain, the better it is, I think, in the New York State. So that's what we would like to do.
Just a question on, so soft landing program right now is obviously concentrated in the southern tier. Is there any conversation about expanding that into other regions throughout the state? I'm from Suffolk County. I actually run their economic development for our workforce and industry advancement. And, we have a program with our Stony Brook University called Nordic Spark, and it's very concentrated though on the Nordic region of the world.
So ideally, we would love to have something that's a little bit more, grander, like Soft Landing has to offer. Would this be a model that could be replicated in other regions, or would you look to maybe partner with a university system like Stony Brook?
Yeah, no, just as I said, first of all, Stony Brook is our sister, obviously. We're always so we're good friends. So the more we can partner, the better it is. So the more we, have to do that anytime. And exactly how it works, we just have to figure out, is it just a joint program? Is it something that Mark can facilitate? Mark has also looked a little bit through the Incubator Association to have some soft landing programming, spread that throughout the state. So always looking for that, the more we can partner. And the thing is with these companies coming in, of course, we would like to see them in the southern tier. They don't all fit in the southern tier. Right? So a company, of course, we can't tell them that, you can join our program, but you only come to Binghamton, that's where you have to stay. The company has, you have to be selfish, right? You have to think about, this is a great program. We hope we can find enough resources for you to make it worth your while to come to Binghamton or to the southern tier or to Cornell or Ithaca. But reality is you have to, of course, look at what makes sense for you, where your supply chain is, so manufacturing space or utilities, whatever you need. So that's why, we right now, ideally, the vision is sort of expand this to the whole New York State. We call it the New York State program and not just an tier, trying to do that, see how that works out.
That's actually what I was hoping to hear. So.
Okay. If I can just add something important, as part of our EDA grant, we promised to provide one very important deliverable. And Jim Helt is here. He's the guy who is responsible for this deliverable. This is a soft landing toolkit for economic developers all over the United States. They can use our experience. We'll document it. We'll put it on paper as a resource guide, as a toolkit for any university or other economic development organization that would like to develop similar program to bring foreign investors to their region. We will showcase our experience, and we hope that it can be helpful to other regions. And of course, we can expand. Definitely, I have the ambition to expand the soft landing New York beyond the southern tier.
And to piggyback on that, I'm working with a university system that's out of India that's looking to open up in Suffolk County. And is there any anticipation of collaborating with other university systems from like a global incubator perspective?
Definitely, as Per mentioned, we are open to collaborations. We are building a support network and partnerships. So yes. Thank you. Thank you.